And welcome into the State Fair restaurant here in Catonsville, 748 Frederick Road, right in the middle of Catonsville, not too far from the UMBC campus. A great place, by the way, if you want to come out. Two major themes here, music and sports. If you like either one or both of those, this is your place. And we're here doing our live college basketball preview, both men and women. I'm Gary Stein, along with Janetta Hayes, women's basketball coach, Jania Summers, women's basketball player. We'll talk to her. I call her a player because she's going to be playing so many positions that I don't want to pigeonhole her, right? Which we'll do in a minute. But first, Coach Hayes, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having us.
And welcome back for another season, hopefully a full season. We shall see. But and there's just so many things to talk to you guys about, but I think it would be only fair to maybe go back to last year and talk about how difficult that was, because what rises up from difficulty is usually beautiful.
Something great.
Right, and that's what we're hoping that would happen this year. So just take us back and just a little bit about last year and how that all went down and how difficult that it may have been.
I think it was definitely difficult for the players that were here, Jania, who's returning as well. We're in a place where we started off strong. We were the first team on campus, ourselves and the men's team, and we got hit with the COVID bug maybe around December-ish or maybe January-ish, somewhere around that time. But we couldn't get out of the funk. Every time it seemed like we were in the clear, I would make sure we were back at practice, and I'll walk in and say, hey, you guys, we got to shut it down again. So just the emotions and the roller coaster ride for the young ladies was definitely difficult. Being quarantined for almost 21 days is difficult, But I will say that they did set the tone for all of athletics at UMBC. Even though we took the hit, we understood the severity and how serious it was, and because of that, it aided our teams moving forward for the spring semester.
Like, what were the conversations like? Like, what did you guys talk about? Because that had to have been a very emotional decision to make for everybody, considering that everybody was involved, loves basketball, and to have it shut down after 8 games had to have been very emotional.
I think that some things that helped was throughout the summer we Zoomed maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So before the young ladies got there, we kind of had an idea of what it may look like. And our sports medicine department did a great job of keeping us healthy as possible and just checking our emotions here and there. So it was a collective decision for the young ladies to come together and say, hey, how does this affect us? What does this look like for us? And so they made a decision based on what they thought was best for them individually and also as a family and a team. So the dialogue wasn't necessarily with me. It was amongst each other. And then they decided to talk to me about it. And we share with the administration our thoughts as well.
So on that note, let's bring in Jania Summers, because you were one of those players who was in on that decision making. I'm sure it must have been crushing to have to call the season after 8 games, but tell us what those conversations were like among you and your teammates.
So I know a lot of people were concerned about their health, and I'm never going to question anybody's health, especially in COVID. If you feel uncomfortable with something, I'm not going to go against that. It is really hard, and I was going to try to push through as best as I can as far as practicing. I was always open to whatever. But I think as a majority, it was best in everyone's decision and everyone's health concerns, everyone's safety, to just call it.
One of the big things I would say, you can come to practice and you can have a cough. So now you can't practice. So you're out. So we may have had 4 people out. We may have had 4 people out because of just a bug or anything. So any kind of symptom keeps you away from the game. And so initially it started where it was a few days or it was 1 day. So, but the consistency was really poor too because of just trying to be careful and safe, keeping them safe as possible.
Yeah. So on that note, it's funny. I was talking to a couple of the guys. If I'm not mistaken, and Jeanette, I think you and I talked about this, Jania, you're the only player that's left from just 2 years ago when Janetta started as head basketball coach here at UMBC. I mean, that is just a tremendous amount of turnover in a short period of time, and COVID was involved,
right,
and you guys had to shut down. So, how do you feel personally about starting this season, kind of knowing, who are these? I mean, I know you know them now, but who are these guys, Yeah,
I'm actually really grateful for it, especially because the first year Coach Hayes was here, I was like, all right, I really feel like a basketball player. I'm improving, doing well. The team is starting to form into what we should have been from the beginning. And I'm actually really happy that I got to have her for more than just 1 year. And then 3 years at that, considering I took my COVID year. But I'm really glad, and especially knowing what the limitations are with COVID and without COVID. I think I have a better idea of the temperament of things, basketball-wise, on and off the court.
And do you feel like you're the leader? Like you kind of accept that, that you've kind of been here the longest? And like, how does that feel for you in your maturation as a player and as a person?
I actually feel pretty good about it. I know we have a lot of transfers who obviously have never even stepped foot on campus before because of COVID, because of where they come from. So I do feel like I'm that go-to person on and off the court. I'm always there for them regardless. Where is this? All right, well, I've been here long enough. I know where this is, how to do this, X, Y, Z. So I feel really helpful, and I feel like a good resource to them.
Gotcha. And you only have 4 players back, by my count at least, from last year.
Right.
So you have a lot of integration to do with your team. As Jania mentioned, you've got 6 transfers who come in with college experience, major college experience. So I want to ask you, how do you, knowing what happened last year, how do you actually integrate everybody as best as you can to not only have them mesh on the basketball court, but also mesh off the court? Because one goes hand in hand with the other.
I think our administration did a really good job as we went through the COVID turmoil and experienced everything, that we vetted our players differently in the recruiting process, because we wanted to make sure that we were bringing in young ladies who fit the mold for the staff, but as well as UMBC as a student. So we really took our time with these young ladies to make sure that we could build a good chemistry with their personalities, knowing their families, and I think we've accomplished that. Actually, the chemistry is good between them. I'm probably pulling my hair out right now about just the basketball side and getting them together. Before, it's like off the court and on the court. They're a great group together. Jania could probably contest to that. Probably the best group I've seen since I've been here together. So I have a smile every day because of that alone, and I know when it gets hard, they'll be able to fight through and push through because they really want to be great. Again, we have a lot to clean up. It won't be perfect on Tuesday. It will be a while before we get to a place where we feel truly comfortable, but we do have a group of young ladies that understand COVID. Most of them were shut down at their university as well, so even with vaccinations, we were 100% when they got to campus. There was no fight about it. It was easy, and that starts the process to understand the buy-in to want to be here and want to really work for our university.
What is the mold that you're talking about? What does the mold of a UMBC player and a UMBC student to you?
I think you just said it, student first. The student athlete part is extremely important. Just not only wanting to be either a great student or a good player, but both. And wanting to be a part of a family. If you're just your own individual, you're probably going to struggle on our team. You have to be able and willing to give. So for our younger players, it's great because they're getting a chance to see older players do it. And they're amazing. Tony and Lacey, to be 2 freshmen, I probably talk to them the least, which is good because that says that our old heads are doing something special. So the mold has to be connecting and finding a common interest and then respecting boundaries and being different. And so that's something that we stress, and we want them to all be themselves. So you'll come into our gym, it's never quiet. I may have to say be quiet every once in a lot, but we got a group that's willing to be vocal and talk, and that's different. It's different from what I've seen since I've been here. And so that makes me feel like at least they're engaged to want to get it right, whether they do or not, in the beginning, but we're moving in the right direction.
Right. So usually I would ask the coach, tell me about the team. What can we expect? But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask Jania, because she's the senior girl, Tell me about the team. What do you guys like to do off the court, and how are you meshing on the court right now?
So off the court, we're pretty boring. I'm not going to lie to you. I think at this point I like to just chill in my free time, considering I've been around so long. I appreciate my free time.
I gotcha.
But we do chill, board games, and kind of just...
Time out. They like to eat. They're always going to eat together. You can find them at a place.
I happen to know a great restaurant that we're at.
Find a place to go and eat. Now, I know that for a fact. Good practice, bad practice. At the end of the day, if I call one of them, they're usually together somewhere at a restaurant eating.
So let me ask you, so are you all together, the whole team, or how many girls go, or?
The invitation is for everybody, and usually everybody is there unless there's a schedule conflict, but it's usually everybody there.
So what kind of stuff do you guys like to eat? Everything?
Yeah, I have no limitations.
They have themed places. I think they're kind of figuring it out now, but at first Jania was the go-to for where they would go eat. So we started a taco place.
Yeah.
And then they make their way around State Fairs, one of their favorite places. Yay, this
absolutely.
is one of their places they like to come to. It's my favorite place. So, but they do, the other day, I don't know where you guys going, Chipotle. It's always somewhere where they're going. And we have big sister, little sister protocol. So our freshmen can't really go anywhere alone. They have to find their big sisters. It's really important that they have that. But again, I was nervous about our freshmen. They're so steady. They are like the little mature adults, and they're figuring it out.
What we
so
want.
that's great. Yes, yes.
So let me ask you then, because you do have a lot of players that you need to integrate into your system, because there are so many new faces. Will you do things differently this year, or do you have a system that you're trying to like imply on them, or do you take their strengths and change some things? Just wondering what's going through your head with almost a completely new team.
You know what? We've changed our approach.
Totally.
Completely.
Really? How have you done that?
We changed our approach with the way we attack day-to-day assignments. I mean, even with our tempo, the tempo has to be great. That doesn't change. But as far as on court, we changed what we're looking at because we want to put them in their strengths. So our play options have changed. We'll have a few packages that are different earlier on. We've kind of slowed it down a little bit to make sure that they have a better understanding. You'll see them playing dual positions. So Jania may play the 4 or 5. She'll play more 3 this year. We have a few undersized players that we can play at the 4. So we're just changing up some things so we can create matchup issues, put us in the best position possible to defend and rebound the ball better. Again, we're not there yet, but we can see the difference. Off the court, I think just the expectation and them policing themselves of accountability, setting a true foundation and a culture that we would really like to stay together. With the first year, the kids, were leaving out, they matriculated out, and then we got a new group. And most of them, with COVID, want to be closer to home. I have all these kids that are here now, the young ladies that are not grad students. I don't see them making those kind of moves. The culture is set, and the foundation has been truly set. And so anyone coming in has to kind of raise the bar to where they are.
Wow.
And they are excited about that.
Let me ask you, you were a pretty prolific shot blocker when you played in college, which wasn't that many years ago, by the way. Are you a defense-first coach?
You know what? I'm on the offensive side of the ball now, Coach
Are
TJ.
you?
I watch the defense, of course, but right now for us, what our need is, I have to kind of change my goggles a little bit because he does a very, very good job on the defensive end. But every day at practice, I'm making my business for the start of practice. My goal is to average 4 blocks a game against Alexis at practice a day. I'm making my business. Jania ran me over this morning, but other than that, every day they have to come up to me for at least the first 15 minutes of practice.
Yeah.
And this is every day. So
Wow.
I can still do it without moving, but it's helping them understand too with length how to score over people and what they're looking for, and not be afraid of it. Truly attack it until someone does something different.
So you're going to be asked to do a little more this year, obviously, playing a few different positions. I would ask you how you feel about that, but I'm sure the answer will be great. But what does it do to your game? Like, does it expand your game? Does it improve you as a player?
Yeah, so starting out in college, I was a solid 4 or 5 player, but I can do back to the basket, I can finish, I can post up. But I think bringing me out to the wing is going to make my game more versatile, so that way, obviously, it'll be harder to guard. But as long as it's for the better of the team and whatever is going to help other people get open as well, I'm open to whatever I have to do.
So one of the things I would say about COVID and the shutdown, everyone went home and Jania was still here. So she got the opportunity to train by herself, get stronger with strength and conditioning. So we actually had to have her actually take a break at one point. Like, we need to give her a week off. Like, she needs to rest. But, like, her ability to shoot the ball better and understanding of the game has grown tremendously because of that. So that time off has helped her improve.
How did you deal with being by yourself during COVID? That couldn't have been easy.
I mean, it wasn't easy. I enjoy having people around to compete with and kind of work with, but I did enjoy it because I was able to focus more on myself. And I feel like, obviously, during the season, it's more team-oriented, and that time where you do just one-on-one skill work is kind of not diminished, but it's less frequent. You need to rest, all this other stuff. But I think it was a very good opportunity for me to get better.
What about you as a person? Did you learn anything new about yourself during that situation?
Yeah, I noticed that my opinion and my thought process is also very important. I feel like I am someone not to speak up, but I think I've kind of developed into that, and I'm trying to integrate that into my leadership role this year as well. So,
Wow.
As I share with you, I think that she's ready-made for a job. I said
Yeah.
that. I was like, if it's not here at UMBC, she'll have a job next year in this business if she wants to, because she's there and she's ready and prepared.
Not that we're pushing you out the door, because we're not. We want to see you play this year. We want to see you be successful. But what are your plans? What do you think you want to do after the year is over?
I know I do want to get into the business of coaching somewhere, some way, at whatever level. whatever level I have to start at, I'm open to that. I know you have to start from the bottom and you have to start somewhere, but I'm excited for whatever is going to happen after this year.
Gotcha. Well, I have a feeling that Coach is right. I don't think you're going to have too much of an issue.
Right.
Just a final thought. This is actually going to be airing the night before your game on the 9th against Gettysburg.
Awesome.
So we'll refer to that as tomorrow night.
Right.
What do you actually expect from your team on opening night?
I expect our ladies to compete, to truly compete and bring a different energy that we've seen before in the gym. They're a loud group. So it shouldn't be really quiet ever, no matter what's going on. You'll see them up on their feet until we have to ask them to sit down. So we really want good energy and ability to compete and just get back on the floor with a product that's great since we've been away from the game for so long.
Yeah, and considering what happened last year, how excited are you and your teammates to get back out on that floor?
I'm super excited. I have a lot of unfinished business from last year, so I'm excited for what this year is going to bring.
Sounds good. Coach Janetta Hayes and Jania Summers, guard/forward/center. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And
Thank
tomorrow
you.
night's the night, so congratulations on that, and we look forward to great things.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you so
We
much.
appreciate it.
Okay. We'll take a quick timeout and come back with the men's version as Coach Jim Ferry and LJ Owens will join us right after this from State Fair in Catonsville. And welcome back to the State Fair, located in downtown Catonsville, 748 Frederick Road. And we're here with the UMBC men's and women's basketball coaches preview and players. We've already talked to Janetta Hayes and Jania Summers from the women's basketball team. Now here joining us on the men's side, head coach Jim Ferry, guard LJ Owens, local out of Anne Arundel County. We'll talk to him about that in a few minutes. But first to you, Coach. First of all, welcome. I know you've been here for a few months now, but like you're official now with your UMBC gear and everything. So welcome. How are you? And just give us a little overview right now.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a long welcome, to be honest. I think everybody's been great. Love being in Baltimore. It's not a place that I'd spent a lot of time in the past, but I'm actually living right downtown and taking in everything it has to offer. Great people. Everybody's been fantastic. I've been to my Orioles game. I've been to the Ravens game. So I'm all in. I'm drinking a Kool-Aid right now. It's all good. Crabs. I love the crabs. Crab soup. And I like the red one better than the cream one with extra crab in it. But no, it's been great. And being at UMBC, it's everything I envisioned it would be. It's what I thought it was going to be. From the first day, I met Brian Barrio to Freeman Rabowski, and the people have been fantastic. And I love working with these guys. We got some great kids in the program. So myself, my family, everybody's really excited.
Absolutely. So because he said he prefers the regular crab over the cream crab, LJ, I've got to ask you, regular or cream, does it matter?
Cream for sure.
Cream for sure.
I'll mix it every once in a while. I'll mix it up every once in a while.
Gotcha.
Mix them in there.
Gotcha. So LJ, I wanted to ask you, and we talked about this a little bit off the air. I got a lot to ask you, actually. But just you for the opportunity to come back home. I mean, you literally had one of the greatest careers of any player in Anne Arundel County history. 2,000-point scorer, two-time MVP, et cetera, player of the year. When you transferred, was coming home a priority for you? And what about this great opportunity?
Yeah, so transferring, coming home wasn't necessarily at the top of my list initially. But after the first couple weeks and just talking with my family and my mom, I figured that it'll be a unique thing. Like you said, I had a pretty good career around this area. I know I will get a lot of support coming home and just playing in front of my family and just being able to bring everything out and every night, just, going out there having fun in front of the people I love. It just meant a lot to me, so, yeah.
So I want to ask
I'm
you,
glad he came home.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. And I hope he stays home for a while.
Yeah. So it's funny, LJ. I want to continue. When I talked to Coach the other day, I was actually on vacation. I don't think he was, but we had a great conversation and we played a little bit of a word association game about a lot of the players. And when your name came up, he was like, "Oh man, reliable, consistent, on target."
Yeah.
You know, basically all of that stuff. So tell me about that. Is that from your parents? Like, where do you get those characteristics from?
Yeah, I guess you could say just having a well-rounded background, always just trying to do the right thing, staying on target, like you said, just trying to be the best I could be every day, come in and work hard, be the person that the younger guys could look up to and the older guys could do the same. When we feeling down, just try to be stable, try to just lead by example.
Gotcha. So you have an interesting job here at UMBC, and the reason why I say that, well, it's many reasons actually, but in your history, you have rebuilt programs. You rebuilt the LIU program. You built the Duquesne program to a certain level of success. You took over a very difficult situation in Penn State and had some key wins there. In this situation, you don't have to rebuild UMBC. What do you have to do here to be successful?
Well, I think first off is we really have to get all the returners to blend with the new guys. And the new guys are including myself. Like, I'm a new guy. Like, I wasn't coming in here saying we got to change everything. It's a program that's had success. Ryan did a great job. We have great kids. Like I said, having a guy like LJ that I can rely on has made it a lot easier. But right now, it's really just about blending everybody together. Core values are a little bit different. Philosophies are a little bit different. But ultimately, it's about playing the right way. Being good people, being really good students, represent the school the right way, and these guys have been fantastic doing that. I've taken over a program similar to this years and years ago at Adelphi. I followed a guy by the name of Steve Clifford, who, as you guys know, is the head coach of the Orlando Magic, the head coach of the Charlotte Hornets, a dear friend of mine. Actually, he called me today. I didn't call him back. But he had some success, and I kind of followed him. So it wasn't about changing a lot. It was, adding who I am to it, and we were able to take that program from a Sweet 16 level to taking it to the Elite Eight. So I kind of fallen back a little bit on that stuff from my history, and just all the years of coaching. I've coached for such a long time. They say the kids have changed. They really haven't changed much. The clothes are different, the music's different.
Yeah.
The phones are different. But ultimately, they want to be coached. They want to have success. You got to love them up. You got to show them that you love them and care for them. So for us, it's about sustaining what's here and taking it to a level that we can do it every year. Try to compete for an America East Championship every single year with really good people.
Your history is that you revive offenses. You did that at Duquesne. You did that at Penn State. You like to shoot the three. You like to run. You like your team to be athletic. Is that what we can expect here, and what are you seeing in terms of the progress that your team is making towards that?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, my team's always played a real aggressive pace, really get up and down the court. We're not about jacking threes, but it's more about getting five guys on the floor that can really score. And I think we have that right now, and it's more about letting the ball find a shot and playing with great spacing, great pace, and great tempo. And it's about recruiting the people to our system. I think that's been a little bit of an adjustment. Although the year that UMBC beat Virginia, they played at a very aggressive pace.
They did.
The past couple of years, it's been a little bit slower. They've called a little bit more plays. So that, I think, has been a little bit of an adjustment for our guys to play this up-tempo style play and play it for 40 minutes. So, yeah, that is something that you're going to see. We're working on taking care of the basketball now and limiting our turnovers as we play at that pace.
So let's talk to LJ about that. So that is a change, from Ryan Odom's past. How is it as a player to adjust to a more athletic type of environment where you guys are going to run up and down the floor?
Yeah, initially, speaking for all of us, I think initially it was kind of tough at first because it was just we were doing everything like so much faster and faster, and we just had to get used to it and kind of not slow down, but kind of like just kind of process it and not overthinking and just letting the game flow. But I think lately we've been doing very good with it. In the first couple little scrimmages and practices we've been doing pretty good. So like Coach said, we had been having a couple like moving too fast, kind of turnovers and stuff. But I think once we clean it up and just do everything we're supposed to do, it'll be very good to play and fun to play in.
How do you feel about, and I never had a chance to ask you this, but last year, thankfully, we got the season in. It wasn't a full season. It was, I think, 20 games, if I'm not mistaken, which was a blessing. Every game was a blessing.
For sure.
But no fans, major restrictions on and off campus, etc. This year, thank God, hopefully it's better, fans, etc. How do you feel about coming back to more normal activities as it relates to basketball, game day, etc.?
Oh, man, it feel good. Not that last year didn't feel like a real season, but I feel like this year you could kind of feel the anticipation. It's just, as you're getting closer and closer, it's just, like the fans coming back and everybody kind of, posting different stuff on social media. It feels like the energy is back. So I'm very excited about it.
What about, you obviously lost some guys, in terms of last year to this year, but you've got a few new players coming in. So just talk to me a little bit about the team chemistry right now and how everybody's meshing.
Yeah, the team chemistry growing every day. We starting to play off each other a little bit more, starting to know where guys are comfortable at, where they want the ball at, how we play defense, who gonna get out in the floor and run, who gonna do this, catch and shoot, drive, things like that. So it's going pretty good.
Yeah. Coach, we talked for about 30 minutes the other day, and a couple of things struck me. But the biggest thing that you said that struck me, which I wanted to bring up, was you just love coaching. It doesn't really matter, if it's a major Division I job, an NBA job, whatever. You just love being in the gym, and you love coaching. Can you talk a little bit about that and what this conference, because this is a conference that you've been watching and you really respect what the America East is doing?
Yeah, and Gary, that's so true. We had that conversation. Like, if I wasn't here coaching at UMBC, I'd probably be back in New York at Island Garden, which is this little gym, coaching my son's AAU team
right.
or coaching kids in a park. Like, it's always something I was gonna be a cop. My father was a New York City cop, 27 years, rest his soul, and that's what I was gonna be, because that's what you do, right? But I was always going to coach. And then when I got to college and I played, I got hurt. I got put on the coaching staff at a younger age, was in charge of recruiting, and I just kind of fell into it. And I never really chased a job. Like, I was an assistant coach at my alma mater, Keene State, and then I went to Bentley College, and then I took a Division III head coaching job at Plymouth State because my wife was pregnant with twins, and it was going to be our third kid, and I was like, all right, I think I got to
do something.
I better start being a head coach. Because I get someone to listen to me then, right? Because my wife and my kids aren't listening to me. So I just started coaching. And then from there, I went to Adelphi. And I could have stayed at Adelphi forever. I could have still been at Adelphi and been happy. But then I went to LIU Brooklyn and had success. And then Duquesne called. And I was like, all right, why not? But ultimately, I could be back at Adelphi in Division II and be the happiest man in the world coaching. And I just love doing it. I wake up every day. I'm so grateful. I'm one of those guys that wakes up and I'm like excited. I can't sit down and have a cup of tea with my wife in the morning or see my kids off to school. I'm just not that guy. Like, I'm up, I'm out. I got to get to the gym.
Gotcha.
And it's just what we do. And I love it. I'm so lucky. I'm lucky I'm here. You talk about the America East, like, great conference. Being a Northeast guy, I'm very familiar with the league and the coaches. And I coached in the Northeast Conference for 10 years. We used to play UMBC. They were in our league, right? We played against each other. So I'm very familiar with it. I'm very familiar with the growth of UMBC, very familiar with the growth of the America East Conference. And even while I was at those higher levels, the past couple of years while I was at Penn State, I really enjoyed myself. I became a better coach in my years as an assistant and being a head coach last year at Penn State. But I kind of always looked at coming back to a level like this because I just felt it was more pure. Just the game is more pure, the kids are more pure. I think everybody's doing it for the right reasons. Not to say that the Big Ten's not, but I just like this level. So I was really, really fortunate. And not only did I end up in the America East, I ended up with arguably one of the best jobs in America East.
So speaking of coaching changes, LJ, I'm sure from a player's perspective, it's always difficult, at least in the beginning, because there's an adjustment that needs to be made from one coach, one administration to another. This is actually your second one.
Right?
Because you transferred from William and Mary to UMBC because of a coaching change there.
Correct.
Just talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, you've experienced a lot in the last 4 years between that, COVID, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I guess I had a pretty unique college career so far. I feel like dealing with each coaching change, it's just you gotta be open and just kind of do what's best for you in the beginning. So in William and Mary, I ended up transferring, but I felt this one being at UMBC, I was pretty comfortable in my situation. Going into my senior year, I knew we would still have some pieces and still have everything we needed to still be at the top of the league. And then once I talked to Coach Ferry and everything he was about, I just loved it. And I feel the play style that we're going to be playing at fits me, and not only me, it will fit our team very well. So I think this one will go pretty good.
So let's talk.
Hope so.
I hope so, too.
I certainly hope so too. So let's talk about the team. You've got you had 5 new guys come in. Unfortunately, a couple of them are hurt. You're probably not going to be able to use them this year. Just tell me what you expect from your team this year. Maybe something different from last year, or how you see it going for yourself.
Well, I expect us to play very hard. I got a bunch of competitive guys. I mean, the guys that returned that we hear before I got here, really competitive guys that love basketball. We brought in a bunch of competitive guys that love basketball. The biggest thing is kind of blending them all together right now. You know, we talk about our core values all the time of being unselfish, tough, and disciplined, and we have it everywhere. We preach it, and we're starting to play that way. And you know, it is a process. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be real pretty, but we've had stretches in our 2 scrimmages that we've looked dynamic. And then we've had stretches where we didn't look very good. So it's going to take a little while, like it does every year. But our focus is just on getting better every day. And as long as everybody buys into their role and buys into the team, you know, it's about our team. And it has to be that way, even more so than any other year, because I think the transfer portal has changed the whole makeup of college basketball. Right, so normally you recruit freshmen, and the freshmen come in, they're good, they're talented, but you know, not many freshmen are going to come in and be able to take away his minutes, right? So, But now you're bringing in transfers that have a track record, that have played in big-time games, and now it's trying to blend all these guys together. So it's getting the right kids that really understand being unselfish, being tough, being disciplined, and doing it all together. And I think so far, guys have done a really good job of it. You know, we're going to put it to a real test on the 9th at UMass, which obviously is Atlantic 10. Really good program on the road. So I'm anxious to see that. Like, I know we're going to play hard. I know we're going to play aggressive. It could be a little sloppy early. That's what it is this time of year. So if we can minimize our mistakes and then we can execute to the best that we can at this point, then I think we're going to see some real positive things and then just keep moving forward from there.
And then, of course, UMBC opens at home on the 15th against Penn State York. I wanted to also talk a little bit, LJ, not only do you guys go to UMass, but later on you're at Pitt, you're at Georgetown. You actually played at Georgetown last year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
And the year before, too.
And the year before. And UMBC played Georgetown way back in 2008 in the NCAA tournament also, by the way. Close game. Just talk to me a little bit about going on the road, playing some of those programs, and kind of how you're feeling about that.
Oh, yeah. We look forward to those games every year, just the competitive nature in us, just to go try to, knock down those teams that are so-called, at the bigger schools or a higher level. So we want to go prove a point for sure. So we all look forward to those games.
I think you want to prove a point too, Coach. So anyway, it gets started Tuesday against UMass at UMass. We'll be watching. Coach Jim Ferry, guard LJ Owens, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
How about a big
Appreciate
hand for the coach and LJ? And I think that's going to wrap it up from State Fair in Catonsville. Thank you so much. And again, college basketball right around the corner.